I am Susan Heredia. I'm a governing board member of the Natomas School Board, and I'm very fortunate to have served on this board for many years. So I've seen the changes over the years in connection with the changes in the community. So I'm a mom of two boys, and it was through my experience as a parent working in their schools that I decided to become or to seek the position as a trustee. But prior to that, I was an elementary teacher, and then I was a principal. And then I went on and became a university professor teaching at UC Davis and at Sac State, where I headed the teacher training program and the program that prepares principals. And I'm very fortunate that my work aligns with my civic commitment to the Natomas community. I've also, over the years before that, served as on the PTA and did everything like many of the candidates here tonight have done. You know, the PTA, the president's, superintendent's advisory committee, and helping the schools in every which way we can. And I've enjoyed doing that. I'm committed to this community. I moved here with my husband right after I graduated from college, and we've never left. And I'm just, I'm very proud to be a resident of Natomas. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Thank you. So I have lived in Natomas for the last 10 years, and I've been in Sacramento for a total of 19. I'm a graduate of Sac State. I grew up in a low-income household, a daughter of immigrants and farm workers, and I helped my family navigate the education system growing up. So I bring that perspective and that experience of understanding what working families face, especially right now during COVID and during distance learning. I have over 13 years of experience working on education and budget policy, and have been working with the district through the Natomas Schools Foundation and the Bond Oversight Committee. So those are some of the skills that are needed to make sure that we're working to ensure all students are truly college and career ready. That's one of my huge priorities. I think that it's great that we're graduating students, but we need to make sure that they are prepared for life, make sure that all students can actually read, that we have equitable access to programs and curriculum that prepare students for life, and that we continue to be innovative in creating pathways, CTE pathways for students that would like to pursue that as a career. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, candidate Mehta, you may begin.
Good evening, Buzz viewers. I'm Sumiti Mehta. I'm a Natomas parent, education activist, and first-generation immigrant. Born and raised in India by a loving family who made educational excellence as a top priority. I've earned a BA in political science and psychology and a graduate diploma in PR and advertising. I have been volunteering in various capacities for communities, schools, and classrooms supporting teachers and students. Currently, I serve as city's Youth, Parks, and Community Enrichment Commissioner for District 1, appointed by Mayor Pro Tem Ashby. I'm a member of various NUSD committees like School Site Council, Parent Advisory Board, PTA, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Besides supporting teachers in the classroom daily, I've organized virtual and on-site field trips, coordinated classroom guest speakers for various school sites in Natomas. I've organized after-school enrichment classes, and I have coached for Geography B and Academic Club. I've been a Reading Partners volunteer tutor, and I have worked one-on-one with low-performing students to help raise the reading level. I'm a published author, and I have written extensively about parenting, schools, race, and gender stereotypes in publications like Sacramento Parent Magazine, Sacramento News and Review. My focus as a trustee will be student-centered decision-making, so that our focus as a district is always on providing the best education possible for all our students in all our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Trustee Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you, Elisa, and good evening, Natomas. Thank you so much for being here this evening with us, even virtually. You know, I was trying to think what my opening comments were going to be tonight, because I'm trying to figure out who's watching this that hasn't heard us on one of the multiple forums or seen our ads or received our mailers. So what have I not been able to tell you over the last months or during my last 8 years of service as a school board member? So I figured the one thing I haven't really talked about is my day job. So my day job is working for the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, otherwise known as GoBiz. And I was appointed by Governor Newsom to my current position running the California Competes Tax Credit Program, which was created specifically to incentivize businesses to come to California and create high quality full-time jobs. So it's a really wonderful nexus. I've been working there for about 7 years, and I've been on the school board as your board member for the last 8 years. And it's a great nexus because during the day, I'm working with businesses to create quality full-time jobs so that everyone has the opportunity to have a good full-time job with benefits, with good hours, with sick leave, vacation time, the things that really matter. My night job for the last 8 years has been as your school board member, as your trustee, to prepare our students for those jobs. So one of the things I've really enjoyed is I get to talk to employers literally every day about what it is that they're looking for and get to work with our schools, with our teachers and our students to prepare them to make sure that they have the skills necessary for college and or career.
Thank you so much. All right, we will be moving on to our questions and answers portion of the forum. So candidates will have 1.5 minutes each. Are we ready? We're good? All right. So question 1, distance learning is challenging for everyone involved. Specifically, how would you work to ensure staff, students, and families needs are met as the district transitions to in-person learning, with some families choosing to continue with distance learning? Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Sure, thank you. Well, I'm proud that our Natomas teachers, like many teachers here in the state, were able to rise to the challenge and find ways to connect with their students remotely. So shout out to the teachers here in Natomas. My priority is pretty simple. It's safety. I believe it's important that we follow and comply with the rules and regulations set out by CDC and local and state laws. We all need to make sure that we take into account the voices of our families, our staff, our teachers, the administrators when making this decision that's going to be pretty tough about what model we're using when we transition to something else besides distance learning. At the end of the day, this needs to be a collaborative effort, and we got to make sure that all voices are heard. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
Thank you. To just go off of what Chris said, I think that the district has done a decent job thus far. I do have a lot of concerns with returning to school in November. I don't believe that it's been thought through. I'm concerned for our parents. I'm concerned for the students and our teachers. We need to think about the people that aren't ready for this. We're putting teachers in a very awkward situation, especially when we promised the ones that had medical fragile illnesses the chance to be able to continue to work from home. I think that we must think this through and do a better job of it. It's going to be unfortunate that we can't make everybody happy, but collaboration is the key to it all. And I think together we can do it. But as of right now, we are definitely not where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Well, a lot of work goes in behind the scenes before you even approach the idea of coming back as a community and bringing kids into school. And I, like the other candidates, I too would not want to have students on site, staff on site, teachers on site, and other employees on site without ensuring some form of safety that is met, that adheres to the to the county guidelines. But in the district's overview, in terms of what they would provide, they've done extensive surveys with teachers and parents, and so there are a majority of parents that would prefer to have their kids back in class. And then there is the group that says we want to keep them home. And so again, there are multiple measures. Today I watched Tanya Gerald from Paso Verde School, who did a YouTube presentation on all the ways in which her staff from Paso Verde and the children and the parents would be protected if they decide to come back onto the campus for class side, for school. So I think that's the ultimate thing that the district has in mind is safety and making sure that everyone is protected and those who cannot be here to work from home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, candidates, Sabeniano, you may begin.
Thank you. So I also agree. I think the district has done a great job of planning, making sure that there's enough safety protocols and measures to try to keep students and teachers and staff safe while in school. I think that, I was able to watch the last hearing and saw that, or the meeting, and saw that there are 44% of teachers that are comfortable coming back, 100% comfortable, ready to return to the classroom. So I think we need to respect teachers where they're at, families where they're at, and make sure that we provide alternatives and a hybrid program, a program that will meet the needs of the comfort level and the needs of all the parents and students. And also returning students, I think that there needs to be a priority system so that we return those students, special needs, English learners, and other vulnerable populations that have faced learning loss, or we're already, behind before distance learning, that we prioritize their return to the classroom. But I think one of the things that I want to make sure also is that the instruction remains high quality, whether you're a student that is learning through distance learning or if you are in the classroom. We need to make sure that there is enough conversations there to make sure that the curriculum is high quality, engaging, and the teachers are able to support students whether they're in the classroom or online. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
Hi. So I know the students are planning to come back, and I think it's a good decision. The only thing is that we need to come in tiers, which is great that we can start with cohorts and go again and see. With all these happenings, I think we need to have more trained staff for instruction-led staffs, more one-on-one tutoring staff to be present on the in the school sites because of those education loss, because of what they have lost in these months. They need more support as well. And as a parent, I'm still conflicted to see whether conflicted because I would want my kid to go back to school, but I have an asthmatic kid too. So I would not want one other child to go back to school. So I think having a decision left on a parent is a very great idea. To having an input from parent is a great idea that the district is doing. And I would appreciate that parents and teachers and district collaborate together to make this happen, but making sure that the two things in mind, which are very important, teachers and the students with the classrooms. These three things taking more priority over any other thing, and then making a decision is going to work for parents and as well as everybody else. And I think it is important to start the tier for opening the schools because there's so many parents who cannot help students at home. Maybe it is because of the language barrier or the technology barrier. So both if those kids are suffering as well, maybe they are intelligent kids, but they still need support.
Yeah.
They can't get the support.
Thank you so much. Candidate Dosick.
Thank you, Elisa. None of us anticipated this epidemic this year, this pandemic. It's been one of the most stressful times, I think, for everyone, but no less so for those in the public education world. As we prepare for this transitional learning program, one of the things that I think it's been really hard for me as a parent of two kids in middle and high school right now is it's not going to be back to normal. It's not going to be back to normal for at least the end of this year. But what have we done to ensure the safety of our students and teachers in Natomas Unified? We have put MERV 13 filters in the HVAC systems at all of our sites. That's the equivalent of what they use in hospitals. It is incredibly high filtration. We've put HEPA filters in all of the classrooms as well in all of our buildings. In addition to that, sanitizing stations, sanitizing gel everywhere, mask requirements, the list goes on. And we're working with an architect as we speak to see what else we need to do in terms of setting up the classroom to enable social distancing, so that with a mask, with plexiglass barriers, with all the other things that we talked about, to maximize the safety for our students and teachers. We've seen the surveys, and about 3/4 of our teachers and 3/4 of our families have said that there's been some degree of learning loss during distance learning. We need to find a way to get students back in the classroom, especially the ones that need it, while keeping the option to preserve distance learning for those families that want or need that as well. That is the path we're on, and look forward to working with you on this.
Thank you. All right, I don't see anyone's hands raised, but we will go on to question 2. What innovations and procedures have come from COVID-19 that you believe the district should continue or explore further? Candidate Harden, you may begin.
I think everything that we've got into place, we're off to a great start. We need to continue with the sanitation process that's going on. We need to continue with the temperature checks. What we do need to worry about is making sure that we have a safe place for those that come and are being dropped off that have a temperature when they get there, because parents are going to just do a lot of drive-bys and dropping off. And then what are we going to do after that? Innovation is great. We've thought ahead on so many things, but where are we going to place the sick kids? Where are we going to do when a teacher is out sick? What are we going to do for that teacher that is medically fragile and still is coming in because they've been either come to work or lose your job? You can get half your pay because we expect for you to do sub lessons and coach the teachers. So there's still so much work for us to do. I will admit that Natomas does a wonderful job of staying on top of things, but there's just still so much more for us to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, most definitely. So what innovations and procedures have come from COVID-19 that you believe the district should continue or explore further?
Okay, I just want to follow up on, Ericka's comment about sick employees or a sick child coming to school, which is a very real chance of that happening. But again, so if each principal has developed safety procedures for their school site, and each school has those online that you can go and read. So one of the things that, for example, in the YouTube video today by Tanya Gerald from Paso Verde, they show where they will, what will happen if there is a sick child or there is an employee. All those procedures are already in the plans that have already been submitted to the superintendent. I think the innovations in terms of this, I'm going to kind of deviate a bit here real quick in 30 seconds, but one of the things here and now is, I think through COVID, is that we find that there are parents who prefer to have their kids learning from home. And I think this may be an innovation out of COVID that we would want to explore further. There are some parents who feel that have discovered that their child does learn best from home, and they do feel like they want to supervise their child. So again, I think that's something that we need to think about instead of the traditional classroom.
Thank you. Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Yeah, thank you. So innovation, I think, is amazing. We all need to do that all the time. And, hopefully the district will continue to do that even without COVID. I would say that some of the things that I would like to see the district continue to do is definitely, the cleaning, sanitation, providing education on that. I think that's something that we should always be teaching students and, reminding adults about. But I think that that's really important. I mean, there's always flu season that it, lasts for months and months beyond December. And so I think that that's definitely a key. I think also the use of technology, while it has been challenging, I think we went into this exploring phase, and the entire state did it as well, of providing education through technology. So I think the ways that we can continue to use technology even after COVID, I think it'll be a plus. I think also, the digital divide, providing families with devices and connectivity, that's something that I hope the district will continue to do. And I think the other thing that we need to look at innovation is how do we ensure parent and community input during the board meetings. I know that the board comments are read, not necessarily read, but just said we received X number of comments. I think that is a place where the board can continue to look at and really make sure that we continue to hear from the community in those meetings.
Thank you so much. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
So we're talking about safety, and what we have done with the district is it's doing good. But I think we need to put in more money or allocating more money on the areas of learning loss than equipments. I know safety and sanitation is very important. We have done a lot of things according to Trustee Dosick, which is amazing. But what we can do when the kids come back to school, do we have enough trained instructional aid? Because the learning loss has happened. We all know that. We all agree. What are we going to do? What are we going to do to make sure that every classroom when they are sanitized and everything, do we have enough resources, enough support in the classrooms to provide it to the students who are coming? Because schools are not supposed to be crutches. So the schools are supposed to be educational place. So the parents are sending the kids back to school so that they can come off the learning loss that has happened because they have been staying at home. So what are we doing on those areas? We are focusing good. We have purifiers, we have sanitizer, we have everything. That is an amazing thing. But when the kids come back to schools, are we prepared to handle that? How will we handle that? A single teacher in a full inclusive classrooms after the pandemic, can she handle alone? I don't think so. As a parent who's been in the classrooms and volunteered in the classrooms, I think we need to have more one-on-one tutoring teachers in the classroom, more instructional aids, more resources for the teachers to support the teachers to be there. Because as parents, we might not be able to go and volunteer anymore.
Thank
so
you.
We have staff.
Thank you so much. Your time is up. Candidate Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you, Elisa. And I really appreciate this question because our staff, everyone from the district office to the teachers, our classified, have been just the epitome of innovation as we've addressed something that none of us anticipated this time last year, right? This time last year, we were attending homecoming football games, which I miss incredibly. So there are a couple of innovative things that I absolutely love that that we may not be able to do without legislative change, but that's where I'll look at my colleagues here that either have worked or currently work in the Capitol. Maybe they could help me run a bill. But there was legislative flexibility that was given to school districts specifically to enable distance learning and synchronous distance learning. As much as I really want all kids, including my kids, I want this pandemic to be over and I want kids back in the classroom. I want things back to quote unquote normal. But we know it's going to be a while. But once it is, one of the things that we've seen that's working well right now, record high attendance. Kids are attending school at greater numbers than we've seen. And we know that, especially, we've all talked about the importance of reading at grade level by the end of third grade so that they're more likely to graduate high school and to succeed in their careers. I would love to see a way that we could continue to provide distance learning for kids when they are sick or when the families have conflicts or aren't able to get their kids to school as an emergency option so that they can still get the attendance and participate from home.
Thank you. All right, candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Thank you. So touching on it, what almost everybody here talked about, we have to make sure that we have adequate safety and sanitary resources during the pandemic. Making sure we have enough PPEs, making sure we have enough toilet paper with the great toilet paper depression that we've seen recently. Making sure our HVAC system is up to date, and as Trustee Dosick mentioned earlier, making sure our portable filters are good. I'd like to see safety check-in or safe check-in and out procedures with schools, temperature checks and symptom checks to the extent we're already doing them, to continue to do them. Procedures for contact tracing should be in place, and process for working with health officials. in the process or during that time. I want to make sure that we have adequate technology to deal with distance learning. As Mariana said, we got to make sure that we have enough Chromebooks, laptops for our students, hotspots, and Wi-Fi access. Something different I'd like to see is if we can get meals given to students or offer meals to students who rely on school lunches pre-COVID. I think I addressed it, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, I did see one hand raised. It's no longer raised. Candidate Harden, did you want to use your wild card? You're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So question 3. Natomas Unified has a large population of charter schools students. How do you view charter schools in general, and how would you decide to approve or deny new charter schools or petition to expand existing charters? Candidate Harden.
Oh, I get to go first again. Awesome. Thank you. So we have wonderful charter schools here. I think that we've done a fine job with our charter schools. They are phenomenal. We are innovators, and it shows within. I think that if we are going to get any more charter schools, we need to make sure that we put a true charter in the South. South Natomas deserves a real charter school. We also need to make sure that there is a need for a charter school. What I don't want to see is that as taxpayers, we are constantly putting all of the money into the charter schools and not ensuring that our public education schools are getting everything that they need and that they deserve. So I would also like to see within our charter schools that you live in Natomas. That should be one of the main things that we look at. I don't want to see children from Roseville and Carmichael grabbing a seat where it could go to a Natomas student that has been trying heavily to get in. I tried charter schools with my son. It was not for him. My niece did well during her time there. So it has done great things for Natomas, but we need to ensure that we're getting our Natomas kids in and that we're not forgetting about the public schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Okay. Charter schools were designed to be laboratories. I think most of us know that of innovation. And so I've enjoyed, watching as some of our charter schools explore the ways in which they offer curriculum and their focus. So I've been supportive of that. You asked the question about how would we, in general, how would we approve or deny? And as always, over the years, anytime a charter petition has come before the board, we always look at it. We have guidelines in which we can either approve or deny. And through the years, we've used that criteria to determine whether or not a charter school goes forward. Previously, charter schools were, if a charter school was denied, it could always go to the county, or they could go to the state and become a charter in your district. So that was one of the challenges. I'm happy to say that I'm endorsed by the charters. I appreciate their innovation. I think one thing that I would like to see in the future, I'd like to see a more diverse student population at the charters. That's one thing. The second thing, I'd like to see a stronger collaboration between the teachers from the charter and our traditional schools so that they can begin to talk more about those innovations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Yeah, so charter schools were authorized in law in 1993 to create innovation, to create different spaces. So I'm really glad to see that the 5 charter schools here in Natomas are doing great. And looking at their data, it does show that they are, creating more progress for English learners. They have low suspension rates, slightly higher graduation rate than the district, and low chronic absenteeism. But I think that for me, in looking at the charter schools, I want to make sure that they continue to provide a high quality education. So some of the things that I would ask when they come up for a renewal or it's a new petition is I would like to see academic performance broken down by student subgroups. I would like to see, what is the curriculum that they are offering in the spirit of the law. They're supposed to be innovative, right? So I want to see what that curriculum is going to be. How are they going to ensure that the enrollment practices are fair and transparent? Also, looking at the data also of the charter schools here in Natomas, they do not reflect the population of the students in the school district schools. So I want to make sure that we close that gap. And I also want to make sure that we have support systems in the charter schools to support the students and the families that are being served. But overall, I agree. I think the charters here in Natomas have done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
This is a very good question. And I think all our students and all our schools deserve a top-notch education, be it a charter school or be it a public school. In Natomas, we do have amazing 3 charter schools, but we also have amazing public schools. So I'm proud of every campus in NUSD system. We need to hold all schools to high standards because that's what it is. It's every decision should be student focused. If we are making student-focused decisions, be it a public school or a charter schools, every school is going to survive. Every school is going to be top-notch. If we provide more support, the charter schools can do better. They do better because we have a lot of parent involvement. All the other schools in South Natomas where I have volunteered can also be equally good. They do not have involvement because that is the population. So they can also have some more resources from district to provide help in the classrooms so every school can succeed. It's all about schools and students. It's all about our students and our schools. It's not just about charters or public schools. I think charters also provide a healthy competition, and so are so many other schools in the district right now who are very good schools. So I would say when somebody goes to Natomas Unified School District, they do not see, oh, this school is 8 on 10 or 6 on 10, but they go because they live in that community and each community has a good school that can provide the top-notch, excellent education to each student that is enrolled in any of the schools in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you. So I want to start with a couple of points of clarification. So one of the things that's been great about the schools, all of the schools in Natomas is, and a couple of the other candidates have brought this up, is the competition, right? I made a choice when my now senior in high school was starting kindergarten. I didn't know much about the difference between traditional public schools and public charter schools. And I think it's important to clarify that the charters in Natomas, charter schools in California, are public schools. They are public charter schools that have their own independent board, their own executive director. They govern themselves, but they're authorized either by the district, the county, or the state. So they are public schools, and all the charters in Natomas are nonprofit. None of them have ever been run by a for-profit organization. So I think that's important to note. But I made the choice when my now senior was in kindergarten to enroll him at Westlake Charter School because it offered more than my neighborhood school did at the time. At the time, kindergarten was half day for traditional public schools. It was full day at Westlake Charter, and they also offered PE, art, and Spanish. When I got elected as a trustee, one of the things I said is we need to compete for these kids. We need to rise to the challenge. If they have lower class sizes, we need to find a way to have lower class sizes. If the public charters are offering innovative programs, we need to find a way to offer those innovative programs. As a result, we're now competing for those kids at our traditional public schools, and the kids are the ones that are winning. So what am I looking for in future potential charter growth? Ensuring that kids win and have opportunities.
Your time is up. Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
So I believe all students should have the opportunity and tools to succeed. At the end of the day, a good school is a good school. And really that's what it's about. If a charter is excelling and helping our students in this district, that should be recognized. But by the same token, if they are failing our district, they should be held accountable. I believe, with respect to accountability, I know there's AB 1505, and that's the step in the right direction. I believe in accountability of all schools for the betterment of the students, regardless of whether it's a charter or a traditional public school, non-charter school. But to do so, we need to take into account the impact charter schools have on our non-charter schools here in the district, as well as the underserved students who attend those schools before we, in the consideration of whether to expand a charter school or open a new charter school. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we do have a wild card on the table. Candidate Sabeniano. Let's wait for Brandy to change the timer. All right, you may begin.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to speak a little bit, I think, to the parent involvement piece. There was a comment made about South Natomas, parents not being involved. And I think that I just want to, clarify, because I think there's parents in the entire district that work one job, two jobs, nights, different varieties of jobs. And so I think that, we have to recognize that not all parents can spend countless hours in the classroom, even though they'd like to. Taking a day off, taking a couple of hours off means a lot for working families. So I think that I just wanted to, say that about families and parents that can't spend time in the classroom. And I think that those families exist everywhere in Natomas. And it's part of being a board member, is being able to see through their eyes, be their voice, and make sure that their students are getting the high quality education when they can't, take that time off. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, there is one more wild card on the table. Let's see, candidate Harden, you may begin.
Thank you. Just to reiterate what Mariana was just saying, that is very true. We need to keep that in mind. But one of the other things that we need to remember is that we have so many North parents that go and try to steal the time to make up for their hours inside of, let's say, the charter school to make it look good. Or we need to reach out to our parents in the South. There are some that can do it, but they may not be able to afford the fingerprinting. So we need to make sure that we're reaching out to them and giving them those times. I've sat on the parent advisory board, and I know that we had parents that have been there for 12 years and kids aren't even still in the school district, but yet they're taking a seat from somebody. I know firsthand that American Lakes had parents who wanted to volunteer, but we had a North candidate who was taking up that time and space. Not that they did much, but it was still the opportunity that could have went to our South parents. So even though they're single family households, they want to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we've got all the wild cards off the table. And so we will go on to question 4. When facing a budget deficit, what process will you use to recommend what programs are funded, cut, or expanded when these decisions are unpopular? Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Okay, did you call? I'm sorry. You asked me. So I've been through this process before. And I went through this process this past summer. And so there is a way in which we do this. First of all, we look at what are the desires of the community? What programs are we survey students and ask them their opinion about programs. We do this getting feedback through our LCAP process is another way. But when we look at the budget process, we look at it as a whole. We have a budget, we see the programs, but the question that I always ask myself is, I'm not about having a lot of programs. I'm about having quality programs and programs that make a difference. So the question I want to know is how many students does the program serve? What's the cost? And what kind of feedback do we have in terms of assessment and accountability that this program is making a difference for the students in our schools? And in terms of expanding programs, I ask the same kinds of questions. Again, what's the data on the program? How many kids are served? What's the cost? How many kids will it reach? And in what areas is it fulfilling our district goals? In terms of whether it's literacy or another area. My time's up, sorry.
Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Yeah, so I think I want to approach this question with really, how do we, not what do we cut, but like, how do we invest limited dollars more effectively? There's certain programs, there's certain things that we have to do because they're mandated by federal or state law. So one of the things, like Dr. Heredia, I'm very, data driven. So I want to see the data. I want to see how effective our programs are and what goal they're meeting as well. I want to make sure that we talk to students, that we talk to teachers, that we talk about the programs that we currently have, and see, what the benefits are of those programs, and whether we expand them, we keep them the same. Hopefully it's expanding. I know that Natomas Unified has amazing programs. So that's one of the things I definitely want to, approach this process with, is in conversation with the parents as well. Like, what do they see at home, especially for those that remain on distance learning? What is the parents' perspective on the curriculum and the programs that their children are in? But I also believe that, we can't do this with reductions only. We really need to look at new revenues and new additional funding, whether it's from the state, bonds. Hopefully there's a stimulus package that comes down with more money for schools, but we really need to look at how do we invest new dollars and where do we find those new dollars? Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
This is true that pandemic has hit the economy. So we need to relook at the budget and build up the reserve for rainy days. I'm sure the district already has done that. And there are two parts to this question. One is that what programs can we cut down to? Okay, so that programs, if we're talking about the high school students, the program that we can cut down, we can probably take the input from the students and the teachers. What are not working, we can probably cut down. But when we look at the elementary students, we need to see that we are not cutting anything from the classrooms, the students, or the teachers. Because at that point of time in elementary, the students cannot tell you what is working for them or what is not working for them. So for that reason, I think teachers' input is very, very important to make sure to understand that we are not cutting the budgets from the classrooms. The only things that we can cut budget is maybe any other place, but three things to be supported is classrooms, students, and the teachers. We need to work out on things to allocate more resources by budget cuts or not budget cuts, but how can we support these classrooms with students and teachers? Now with the learning loss, there is budget cost, plus there is a learning loss. So what things we have to get it into the classroom and not taking away from the classrooms and the teachers is going to support our students, is going to make our schools better, even when we are going through this pandemic or a bad phase, which will get over, I'm sure. So this is what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you. So I was looking back at some of my campaign materials from 8 years ago, and some of the things I said then hold true today. I spent a lot of time talking to my friends, to families, to teachers, to students throughout the district. And one of the things that I learned was we were losing families in Natomas Unified. They were going to private schools. They were going to schools in other districts, like the International Baccalaureate Program. They were going to Mira Loma, 2 school districts away, because we weren't offering it in Natomas. And I said, if we offer the programs that parents want and that kids need, we will keep kids in the district. We will attract more kids to the district, which will generate more revenue, because every student that we lose about $10,000 a year in state funding, roughly $10,000 a year. That has worked, because when I was running then, we had about 10,000 students in the district. Now we have about 16,000 students in Natomas. And the growth that we saw was even during the building moratorium. So how do we budget for this? First of all, we've been very conservative in our budgeting, ensuring a prudent reserve. Second, as Trustee Heredia said, we have to look at the data. We have to look at what's working. And we've designed a budget that has what the superintendent refers to as crumple zones, right? Those areas that we know we can reduce. And we made reductions in some of those programs already this summer, but we kept those cuts away from the classroom. We have to look at what's keeping students coming to school. We cannot cut programs like IB, SECA, athletics, and the arts, because that keeps kids excited about coming to school.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Well, first and foremost, I agree. Cuts need to stay away from the classrooms. I think it's important to be transparent, communicate effectively with stakeholders, and include them in these tough decisions. These difficult decisions with respect to cuts should be done together. I believe that we should ensure the district is creating and adhering to long-term financial plans, staying current with the economic information from local, state, and the federal level, and collaborating, as I said, with all stakeholders. I also believe that this should be done without compromising the educational quality of our students here in the district. And lastly, if it helps, I for one plan on not taking the stipend if elected. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
Thank you. We need to be able to reach our community. We need to do a better job of reaching our stakeholders, our families. We have failed them at trying to reach them. So we must start and do a better job right there. If the programs are not working, let's get with our families, the teachers, parents, community, and let's see what we can do to make them work before we just go cutting our programs. But we need to truly trim, and I say this time and time again, we must trim from the top. We have people that are assistant superintendents that are making way too much money, and it's unfair. Natomas has done a fabulous job of keeping the reserves. Because they've got the reserve money, that's how we were able to do the Wi-Fi, do the Chromebooks. But there are going to be some tough decisions that have to be made, and it should definitely start at the top. Our students have gone without for way too long, and it's time for change. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have 2 wild cards, but I think there's only one. Ericka, I know you just spoke, so was that from last time? Okay, so candidate Mehta, you may begin. Oh wait, let's see with Brandy. Let's let Brandy, sorry. All right, you may begin.
Okay, so when I heard one of the comments about the budget cuts they cannot be having in the IB, CECA, or AP, I disagree with it because our diverse community of students is not just IB, CECA, or AP. We have diverse community. Every kid, we need to have programs for every kid to be career and life ready. So maybe cutting on those, if not cutting on those, but adding on other things as well, but making sure the classrooms and all students are supported, not just one kind of student. And also I wanted to say that parent participation is #1 indicator of long-term student success. When we identify campuses with low family participation, we need to supplement with the parent involvement, not to wait for anybody else to come or not to come. But as a parent, it is my duty to go to any campus and help so that that school could be supported. That's how community service, and that's how community service and student collaboration and teacher collaboration, making partnerships work for any schools. Thank you.
All right, candidate Dosick, your wild card, you may begin.
Great, thank you so much. So in 90 seconds or a minute, you can't really address all of the points. You have to look when you're making cuts, but when you're looking, as Ericka said, which programs in which to invest, you have to look at what's driving student success and what's working. And specifically, of course, I called out IB, CECA, and AP, but programs like the AP Capstone at Natomas High School, I'm wearing that shirt today, which is driving student success, but also what's driving students to want to come to school. Because if they don't come to school, if they're not participating, they're not going to learn. So we have to look at programs like our athletic programs. And we've seen the students participating in athletics have higher attendance, higher GPAs, and higher graduation rate. We also have to look at the programs we've invested in, like our career technical pathways, like construction and medical pathways at Natomas High, in addition to our public safety and our broadcast media pathway at Intercom, to name just a couple.
Thank you so much. All right, if you guys don't mind removing that raised hand. No? All right, I think everybody has. So question 5. When creating new programs within the district, such as the dual immersion program, how will you balance where these programs are located and access or enrollment opportunities to these programs for all students? Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Thank you. So I love this question because I'm a huge supporter of the dual immersion school. I've done work with a school here in the region, the Language Academy, and see the great work that they do and the wait list of over 800 students. And so I know that there is definitely need, and there are Natoma students that attend that school. So I'm, appreciative and really applaud the district for making steps to create a K through 5 dual immersion school. I think that they already have a site in place. It's my understanding. So it's in North Natoma. So I think one of the huge things that we need to do is we need to make sure that there is proper outreach and communication to all the families in Natomas that are interested in the school. I think that we also need to make sure that we provide adequate transportation and busing for students to go to and from the school, when they are allowed to actually go in person. But it's going to take a couple of years, I think, to get that up and running. So there's going to be hopefully a lot of conversations that happen before then to make sure that families know what this is. I think not everyone understands what a dual immersion school is. So I think giving that education and making sure that families understand that. And one of the reasons I really support it, I think, especially in the climate that we're in now, is that dual immersion, learning another language, but really learning a second language and a culture makes better global citizens and makes us understand and work better with one another. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, candidate Mehta, you may begin.
So I totally want the dual immersions program in our schools to work. And I think the only way it can work is having more parent participation to see what dual immersion program is. There are so many parents who are not aware of what dual immersion program is. I wasn't until last year. So there are a lot of parents who are unaware. We get the programs to the district, but if we do not have the input of the teachers or the students or the families or the community stakeholders, it might not work. But yes, this is the one program that I would really want to have in our North Natomas and South Natomas schools. And also, I would like the district to make some amends on how this EL program works. There are so many students who are put into the EL program who are not even supposed to be there. So this protection net for our students and the resources are getting wasted on the students who do not need it. And in the reality, the students who really need the ELL help or whose parents cannot help them with the English language are still left behind, just because of the language survey that comes from the district. So I want to make sure before we make these amendments where English language learner program is on the right place, and then we add into dual immersion so that we are not conflicting or we are not having difference between, we don't know what's the dual immersion or what's an ELL program. So that is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you. I'm very excited that the district recently began planning for implementing our first dual immersion program. And I know there have been a lot of questions about, which site has been selected or why was a North Natomas site selected. Pretty simple. There's not a lot of vacant land in Natomas. And what land there is that isn't developed yet is pretty expensive. The district fortunately had the foresight in years past to purchase land before the prices skyrocketed. The North Point site where we're thinking about placing or planning to put this dual immersion program happens to be in North Natomas. But we have to ensure that our programs are accessible to all students, regardless where they live. We are fairly blessed. We're a relatively small district. We're only a few miles deep and a few miles wide. We can ensure that students have access, and we've demonstrated that we can do this with things like our public safety and our construction pathways program, where we have made site-to-site transportation available from our different high schools so that students, regardless of which high school they are enrolled at, can still participate in some of these career technical programs. We need to do the same thing with day-long programs like our dual immersion program that will be coming, and make sure it's available to students throughout the district, regardless of which zip code or which part of Natomas they live in.
Thank you. Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Thank you. Well, I will say there's no doubt that our district is one of the most diverse in the nation. And we all must ensure that there's equity and equality and access for these types of programs for all our students. Just like what Mariana said earlier, we need adequate outreach for these programs. that is vital for the success and actually change in the district for these students. The board must, I believe the board must continually assess whether we are ensuring all students of our diverse district are aware of these programs and have the information and assistance they need to participate in them. We have to ensure that these program requirements, and the location of where we're putting these programs do not have that unintended consequences of creating obstacles that are arbitrary or disproportionately affect our diverse community. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
I think Mariana summed it up quite well for everybody. I mean, she hit it on the head. I've had the pleasure of volunteering in West Sacramento at Elkhorn Village School, which is a dual immersion school. So I'm hoping that we will definitely visit, continue to have conversations. I'm quite aware that there's no place for us to put a school in the South, but we need to save some money to get it there. What we are going to have to offer is transportation, because there are going to be children that deserve to go there from the South that aren't going to be able to get there. And I realize we haven't had school buses run the way they should in a long time, but that's something that we need to do. We also need to remember that the teachers that are going to be teaching and be over this program are going to need to be supported. I know Sue was huge at making sure that this got done, and I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, we have to look at, we've lost 6 Spanish teachers in the last, I think, 3 years under the current leadership. So we need to ensure that we're there for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Yeah, I am so excited about the dual immersion school. And Ericka, thanks for mentioning Elkhorn Village. That's where I placed bilingual student teachers at Elkhorn Village for many years when I chaired the bilingual teacher training program at Sac State. So thank you. Again, transportation is important. I would agree with that. Communication, what is a dual immersion school versus what is an EL program? All of those things need to be defined. What I'm excited about, though, is, and I will push, if this will be a slow progress. This will be a K1, maybe a K1-2. If I have any influence, it would be a K1-2, very similar to the school that I taught in as a bilingual teacher. And my graduates from Sac State in the bilingual teacher ed program are elementary teachers in Natomas, and also excited about the idea of being able to teach in this new dual immersion school. So we do have a cadre of teachers prepared and knowledgeable about dual immersion. I think a lot of attention needs to be given to the parents in terms of support. And here's what, and defining what's going to happen with your student once they get to the school. And my time's up again. All right, that always happens.
Thank you so much. Mariana, I think your hand was raised. Are you good? Okay, all right. And Sumiti, I do see yours is up still. Did you want to use your wild card?
That was last time.
Oh, it's still up. So
okay, sorry, I'll take it off. I thought it just automatically does it. Sorry.
All right. So this is question 6 now. What is one area you see where the district needs immediate and significant improvements, and what steps would you take on day 1 to address this? Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
For me, I think we need to put in more effort into our elementary education. We need to have reading specialists almost in all school sites. And I will say again, I have volunteered in American Lakes Elementary, and they do need reading specialists. If we have parents who cannot volunteer because of the reasons, we can have community collaborate with the schools, get them fingerprinted, and they could be reading specialists in South Natomas schools. TK to 2nd grade reading level is still not at the grade level reading. we still are struggling. We are focusing so much on big programs for IP, SICA, AP, Capstone, all the CTE programs, which is amazing for our district. And I know that so many students want to go, but if we do not have a strong foundation in elementary and middle, we cannot have students succeed over there. We are trying to get new programs for IB programs for this elementary schools, but it cannot work unless and until we have strong foundation in elementary for all our elementary students. And that can happen by having reading specialists, by having more teacher support in the classrooms, because all-inclusive classrooms, they need it. We have students who are behind grade level. We have students who have IEPs. We have students with special needs. To get these things done in the classroom, to make sure all students succeed, we need to have more support in the classroom for all our students to make sure we do it better.
All right, candidate Dosick, you may begin.
Thank you. You know, at last year's California School Board Association conference, I had the chance to hear a very famous actor, Edward James Olmos, speak. As a matter of fact, Trustee Heredia was the one that introduced him. And that was pretty amazing. And he wasn't there to talk about probably his most famous movie, at least in the education world, Stand and Deliver. But, you know, sometimes life imitates art and sometimes art imitates life. And one of the things that Edward James Olmos' character, he was playing Jaime Escalante, said in Stand and Deliver was that we have to have high expectations for all of our students. All students can learn. We have to have those high expectations. So one of the things that that I've been working on, and I'm still not satisfied and want to continue working, and this isn't blaming, this isn't anyone's fault, but this is something that we have to keep working on, is we have to have incredibly high standards for all of our kids. We have to believe that all of our kids can read. We have to believe that while not every kid has to go to college, every kid can go to college. We have to make sure that every kid knows that he or she can graduate and go on to do something and be college or career ready. We have to do this, and this involves raising the expectations at all schools, at all grade levels, recognizing the potential that all of our students have throughout the district, this incredibly diverse and wonderful district.
Thank you. Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
So with COVID-19 and the impact it's had on our students, it's expected to widen the achievement gap for students with special needs. I think that needs to be addressed immediately since we're, in the middle of the school year here. We have to ensure, I want to make sure we ensure our educators have the training they need to better understand how to work with students with special needs and to implement programs that are meant to benefit students with special needs successfully. I believe we have to ensure we have enough counselors, school psychologists, and social workers to work directly with families to meet these students' needs. I understand that the district has moved to a local special education or local plan area. I think one of the things we'll need to do is assess whether that makes sense and it does truly benefit our students with special needs.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
I actually just wrote an email to someone that had that same question, so I'm going to kind of read a bit off of it. But first off, I agree with everything that's been said this evening, but I will actually have to ride with Sumiti on this, that we definitely need to get some reading specialists and reading programs in, but not just for our elementary, because I'm concerned about the high schoolers or middle schoolers going into high school that are reading at that 4th grade level. I'm concerned about that 12th grader that we just went ahead and kicked out into the real world that can read at a 6th grade level if we're lucky. But we're saying that they're college and career ready. We're fluffing these numbers, and it's unfortunate because our children need us and they're depending upon us. Reading specialists and programs do work. They've worked in the past in Natomas Unified School District. I've seen it work, so I'm looking forward to bringing it back. Yes, special education is in desperate need too, but we have a great SPED program. So one of the top notches in Northern California for sure. So are they going to be further behind? Absolutely, but I am confident in the team of special education that we have, that we're going to get them back where they need to go. Right now, we must focus in on reading, because if you can't read, you're never going to achieve anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Well, I'm gonna concur with what's been said by former, the other candidates here about reading. As a second grade teacher, I knew how critical reading was to my students and to their success. And I had to keep telling them that they would be the best readers at the end of second grade, and their teachers would be amazed by third. I want all kids to believe that they can read. I want them to have that love of reading, instead of looking at it as, as something that a chore that they have to come to. Then I would also want to talk about another thing too, and that is in terms of parent involvement in helping students learn to read. I think we need to focus more on helping our parents understand how they can read, teach their kids to read. I think we do that, but I think that has to go hand in hand. And we also have to promote primary language at home. Read to your kid in their primary language. It will transfer into English. Keep speaking to them, use that vocabulary. And the achievement gap, I am just as concerned about loss of learning and the achievement gap. I don't call it I call it the opportunity gap. I don't call it the achievement gap now. I call it the opportunity gap as a way to look back. And I'm confident that when we get back into the classroom, that we will find ways to really help those students. And reading specialists would be a wonderful way.
Thank you so much. Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with reading specialists as well. I mean, that's one of the things that I, have been talking a lot about is, making sure that all students, by the time they're in third grade, that they can read. And we know that that's one of the areas that Natomas Unified is falling behind, even further behind in rates than the state is overall generally. So I think that that's definitely something we need to work on. But in order for students to be able to read, we really need to focus on early learning and preschool. So those 0 to 5 years is very critical. So to the extent that we can provide additional programming, additional resources for families to understand how critical those years are for children, it's going to be very important. The other thing that I would like to work on very early on is making sure that we really continue to support our teachers, that we allow time for them to collaborate, to talk among one another, how distance learning is going, how hybrid programming is going, that they have the ability to have those conversations and that we encourage those to happen. The other thing is for the board meetings. I think that we really, it's 2020. It hasn't been the year that we all thought it was going to be, but it is 2020. And so I think it's really important that we look at the board meetings, that we modernize that process so that we are hearing from the public when we're meeting virtually, that they're able to call in, or we have some other mechanism that it's not just, we received X number of comments from the public. We really need to hear their voices. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see anyone's hand raised yet, so I think we're good. Okay, question 7. How would you rate the working climate between administration and represented staff in the Natomas district? And in what ways would you seek to improve the organization's working climate? Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Thank you. As a board member, I think we need to listen and be willing to listen to all stakeholders. It's important that all stakeholders, including the unions, are heard and are given the opportunity to participate in decisions that affect our students and our schools. Teachers interact daily with our students, and ignoring them would be a disservice to our community and to our schools. Their voices need to be heard. And as far as negotiations goes, I know there's been a breakdown between the teachers and the district in the last several years. I believe that's a big part of that is because of the lack of communication and transparency. We have a problem when teachers feel like they don't have a voice in their own classrooms. And with respect to what I would do if I was elected, I would direct the district to be more collaborative and to ensure the district is following the law during those negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
Communication is broke and we must fix it. It's unfortunate, but it is. And without communication, we have nothing. There is a lack of respect amongst what our teachers are getting from admin. There is a lack of respect for our classified, who are just as important as our teachers. There's a lack of respect for meeting with the union on a proper basis. And if we don't change that, we are going to be in severe trouble. And that's the bottom line. There are some hard questions that need to be looked at. We're losing PTAs, which is unbelievable in today's society when we need that more than anything. We have an elementary school that is getting ready to lose a PTA that has been there forever. And it's in the north, which is even more surprising to people. And it's because of the lack of communication and respect that is being given from admin. We need our administrations to step up and be able to see through the thick clouds and have their own judgment. Just respect. Let's reach out to our stakeholders a little bit more than we've done and find ways to meet in the middle. We don't all have to agree, but in order for us to get over this hump, and this is a huge hump that we're in, we must do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Heredia, you may begin.
You know, I'm always hopeful whenever there is any working relationship and there may be an issue that it doesn't seem to be resolved. I think adults rise to the occasion, and especially when children are involved, I think they do rise to the occasion. And I think we've seen that happen this summer through COVID. I think COVID is probably an example in which people had to come to the table for on behalf of children and put whatever differences they may have, they had to put aside. And I think that's what we're all about as educators. People come to the table on behalf of the children. And keeping that as this, you know, that our focus should be child-centered on every decision that we make. But I'm also confident that adults that we have in Natomas Unified, that whatever issues that are unresolved, that they will come together and work them out, that they have the skills as adults to work them out, that they have the skills as adults to communicate with one another. And so I have a lot of faith. And I think that there are bumpy roads for all school districts in terms of, and especially in times of negotiations, but I'm of the belief that we all come together.
Thank you so much. Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Thank you. So I've watched a couple of, or a number of board meetings, and I think that there's definitely, work that needs to be done. I think that we need to treat each other with the respect that we tell students that they should be treating themselves and their peers. And I think that that's really important as adults, that we behave that way, and that that's how we conduct business, whether in public or behind closed doors. I believe that there's definitely work to be done to repair some relationships. And I think that, as adults, I'm hoping that we can come together and really figure out what the core of that is and how do we move forward. And it's not because, for us, it's for students. It's for making sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. Schools are in the business of educating students. And part of that includes making sure that we're working together. We don't have to like each other, but we need to be able to work together. And we all do that in our professional world, right? We don't agree with everyone, but we know how to come together for a common goal. And so I hope that, we can definitely do that. I believe that we can. I believe that we can be collaborative and we can be transparent and we can repair the trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
I believe that elected officials should represent all constituents and not cater to their political base. A school board member should only have one focus: serve all students and provide the best learning environment for students. After spending thousands of hours in different Natomas schools, I know that the best learning environment is different for different students. It is important for a trustee to understand this and actively engage all stakeholders, including parents, teachers, classified and support staff, charter leaders, and importantly, the students as well. As a trustee, I will hold monthly meetings with our union, charters, leaders, teachers, schedule bi-weekly office hours in North and South Natomas. I will be accessible to community 24/7. I'm still, as a parks commissioner, I get emails, phone calls. I'm still accessible. I surely will be. Continue to participate in community events and respond promptly to all communications. Open discussions, better communication, and improved partnership with all stakeholders, with the teachers, with the parents, with all the community members should be the top of the priority. The center focus should be students. And I think if everybody thinks about that the focus should be students and the classrooms, there is no way we cannot have success in the schools. All schools will succeed, all students will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dosick, you may begin.
When I was in my second term serving as board president, I was approached by our classified employees. These are our hardworking bus drivers, custodians, our food service workers, our school secretaries, groundskeepers, so many others. And they said that they wanted to try and reinvent the relationship with management with the district through a partnership with the Labor Management Institute. And so this was something that I signed off on. It was actually one of the last things I got to do in my last month as board president. Unfortunately, I didn't get to participate in it because my term expired as president. I have seen the relationship grow so incredibly well in the last number of years. Under the leadership of the current executive board of CSEA Local 745 with Pam Rothwell as president and the rest of her e-board, we have seen an incredibly collaborative relationship that has resulted in providing new opportunities for our classified employees. We're providing upward mobility, training, assistance with filling out job applications, really providing opportunities for all of our classified employees to continue to move up through the ranks and to get promotions, and looking at expanding that relationship and expanding cross-training opportunities for our classified employees as well. I was honored to be endorsed by a local classified employees union, and I would love to see our teachers union work with the district in something like the Labor Management Institute or another initiative to look at some form of perhaps interest-based bargaining.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any wild cards. All right, so we have reached the portion of our program when each candidate is invited to make a closing statement. You will have 1 minute each. And we will start with candidate Dosick. You may begin.
So first, let me say thank you, Elisa, for putting on this with us, putting on this forum again, to the Natomas Buzz, and to all of our candidates for what's been a rigorous and much more tame forum than I'm sure what's going on the major networks right now between our presidential candidates. I've got my DVR going. I'm looking forward to watching that one. These are incredible times for public education in California. And, Councilmember Ashby hit the nail on the head at the beginning of this forum. You've got a lot of good candidates to choose from. You need to figure out who best represents your interest, who's most qualified to fight for your kids, for all of our schools, to make sure that we do what's best for all 16,000 Natomas kids. Since we're all going to say it, I might as well say it, right? Hey, find me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Dosick4Natomas or Dosick4Natomas@gmail.com. It's been a pleasure serving these last 8 years. I hope you'll give me 4 more. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Alvarez, you may begin.
Well, I just want to say first, thank you to Natomas Buzz, to Brandy, and to Alyssa. This was an honor to just be invited and to share my thoughts and views and to share the stage with such great candidates. We all know COVID-19, the pandemic, has forced us all to work together to ensure our students continue to learn while trying to provide a safe environment for everyone. And it's important that all of our voices are heard and representation matters. I'm running for this position to serve our community. As I said earlier, I built a life around public service and believe public education is the cornerstone of our democracy. I have the tools to serve one of the most diverse districts in the nation. My experience and legal background have given me the skills needed to provide insight on valuable solutions on issues that the district faces. I know the importance of partnering with families, teachers, school administrators, and the community, and I look forward to serving our community and hope to earn your vote. And please don't forget to vote.
Thank you. Candidate Harden, you may begin.
Hi, so my closing statement is going to be a little different. So I'm going to start off by addressing a few questions that I've been getting. So I am not the godmother to any of the candidates' children. So just to put it out there, I did not skip the intercom forum because I did not want to be a part of it. I had a prior commitment and timing just did not work out. Do I believe that it was a little unethical the way it was ran by having our ex board member being the moderator? Yes, a little bit, but if there's any Tigers families that want to reach me, please feel free, 916-595-3501. That's been my cell for the past 19 years. It's not going to change, even if I get a few weirdos that call me. I would love to hear from you guys. You can go to erickaharden.com. My email address is ericka4education@gmail.com. The buzz, Alyssa, is it? Thank you, Elisa. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for having us, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, candidate Heredia, you may begin.
Okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm not going to be seeing all of you on Zoom for a while, but it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure being with you. Sumiti reminded me this is the third time this week. Education has always been my passion. It's something that I've done for a long time. I'm just very fortunate, as I said before. My passion aligns with my community work. And for that reason, I have given 100% to working for this community and on behalf of all kids. I went into education to be an advocate for kids and especially for unrepresented kids. And that passion has not diminished in any respect. Again, I just want to remind everybody that, and as a governing board member, it's been a pleasure and an honor. And I believe I have the skills and the experience to meet on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Candidate Sabeniano, you may begin.
Yeah, thank you to the bus, Elisa, and everyone else that's watching or will watch in the future. We just really appreciate you, taking the time to listen to us. Yeah, I don't know what else to add. I think I've talked about everything that, the last couple forums, but I'm available to really answer any questions. I think that, I do have the personal experience, the professional experience, the community experience to lead in this role, to make decisions that best serve students, teachers, and families. So I hope that I can earn your vote. You can visit my website, which is Mariana, 4, Natomas.com. Like I said, I'm available to answer any questions. I think, that I have the skills and I'm ready to hit the ground running day one. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you. Candidate Mehta, you may begin.
Okay, I'm the last one. Thank you. What I will bring to the board is a parent perspective who has volunteered thousands of hours in various capacities at multiple Natomas school sites, partnering with schools to support students and teachers. I will work to promote student and teacher safety, better communication, and improve partnership with broad coalition of diverse community stakeholders, including the district staff. My priority is making sure NUSD is well-resourced, high-performing district, providing all our students with meaningful academic opportunities. I am the only candidate endorsed by Mayor Pro Tem Angelique Ashby, whereas Natomas education leaders and community leaders like Tom Rutten, Charlie Leo, Jug Vance, Danielle Marshall, Brendan Black, to name a few. I have support from many Natomas PTA leaders. I have the passion for serving and understanding of challenges in the classroom, and with my experience and knowledge for our schools and students, I can help to provide the necessary leadership and ideas to the board. I have been getting amazing responses on my Facebook page, and I love you, Natomas, for all the positive impact and the support that you're giving me, please check Sumiti for Natomas and vote for me for successful Natomas schools and students. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I still have 9 minutes. Okay, thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Elisa.
No,
Thank you,
sorry,
everybody.
you don't. Actually, they started it late. You're finished.
All
Sorry.
right. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I do also want to really just make it a point too, and I know everyone did, but thank you, Brandy, for hosting this event and all of our co-hosts as well. I know Brandy has put in countless hours and this isn't part of the script, but I just feel like it just needs to be said out there because she does so much, not just our community in general. So thank you so much, Brandy, for all that you do. But thank you to everyone who joined us live on Facebook and YouTube and all the other platforms out there. If you are a registered voter who does reside within the Natomas Unified School District boundaries, you have 3 votes. There are 3 candidates, 3 seats available. Please consider using all 3 of those votes. Thank you again for all of the candidates, for all of your questions. It's not easy to be in your seat. The questions were not given to you in advance. You guys all did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. And everyone have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Hey,
And this is
Have a
the
good
last
night.
forum before we all get into the last phase. So
Yes.
all the best to everybody.
Mute. It is over.
Chris,